Welcome to Third Sunday Tea Talk Show. We are so grateful that you all joined us this third Sunday. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Third Sunday.
Welcome, welcome. And we are going to share it on Facebook.
Yeah. Welcome, our Facebook family. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Third Sunday Tea Talk Show. Welcome, welcome.
Just give
Welcome.
us 1 second.
Welcome, my sister Barbara Huggins. I got to give her a shout out.
Well, you
I've
go
known
right
her
ahead.
all my life.
Some shout
I
out.
think this is her first time joining us.
No, it's not. But usually I don't have the camera on.
Okay.
Oh,
I love you much.
yes.
Welcome, everyone, to Third Sunday Tea Talk Show, where we educate, celebrate, and advocate. We are truly grateful on today to have another Third Sunday. And the topic today is Let's Talk Education. So for those of you who are new to the show, we have been around for we'll be celebrating 6 years next month, but it's going to be our 3-year anniversary for being on social media. So we are truly very grateful on today. We have a dynamic featured guest, Dr. Edward Newsom Jr., who is with us on today, but we are going to start our show with a blessing. We're going to start our show with a blessing because not only do we celebrate, we advocate, and we educate. We believe in giving out blessings. So we are celebrating educators on today. Shout out to all the educators. So what we would like for you all to do, those of you who are paraprofessionals, teachers in elementary, high school, if you are a professor, if you are a retired educator, what we would like for you to do is just put your name in the chat box and, you know, your title, whether you're teacher, professor, retired educator, if you're paraprofessional. And we're going to give out a Third Sunday blessing starting off our show before we get into our flight to excellence with Dr. Newsom. So make sure you send your status in your name to Carolyn in the chat. For those of you who are joining us by phone and you don't have access to the chat box, you can text 443-695-6110. That's 443-695-6110. Type your name and type whether you're a teacher, a paraprofessional, whether you teach elementary school, high school, or whether you are a retired educator. We're going to celebrate you on today. We're going to celebrate you on today. So we have one of our great sponsors of our show. We love her to pieces, Renee Rivers. She is giving our first Third Sunday blessing. Renee, welcome to Third Sunday Tea Talk Show again.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you all.
And we appreciate you.
Yes.
So tell us your business and what your blessing is today.
Well, my business is making women beautiful by way of jewelry, paparazzi accessories, all things $5. Beautiful, beautiful jewelry. The website is www.bedazzled03.com. And today I'm giving away a bracelet.
Beautiful.
A bling, 3 snaps to wrap it around your wrist. It's very pretty, black. So I don't know, I didn't get any numbers together, but Carolyn, maybe you can, do numbers from 1 to maybe 30 or something like that.
Right. That's fine. So Renee, text me the number that you thought about. And when I say go, those who are educators, because again, we're just doing educators on today, if you can put in the chat box a number between 1 and 20. And when whoever's the closest to the number that Renee has will be the winner. So Renee's gonna send me a number between 1 and 20. And those of you who are, okay, y'all didn't even give me a chance to say 1, 2, 3, but it's okay. It's all right. Okay, so I have 3 people who have put in numbers, and I have Renee's number. So our winner for today is Nat Adams. Nat Adams, congratulations. You had the closest number to the number that Renee had. So if you can do me a favor, please, and text in the chat, put your name, address, phone number, all of that information, and send it to Renee. Believe it or not, guys, Renee is in Texas. So she is giving us support all the way from Texas. And so we're really grateful for her. And I'm going to actually put her website address in there. But Nat Adams, please send all of your information to Renee, and she will get your gift right off to you. Congratulations, our first Third Sunday blessing for today. And let me just say, please, please, please invite your friends, invite family to get on. It's much easier when they do it on the Zoom versus trying to do it on Facebook, as we have some amazing Sunday blessings coming up later on in the show, and no one wants to miss out. So please be sure that you're sharing this with family and friends.
All right.
Congratulations
okay.
Again, Nat
so thank you so very much, Renee, again, for that third Sunday
Thank
blessing.
you.
And kudos to the winner, Nat Adams, for winning and being blessed with that nice piece of jewelry. So our featured guest on today's Third Sunday Tea Talk Show, where we educate, advocate, and celebrate, we are featuring Dr. Edward Newsome Jr. Welcome to Third Sunday.
All right, thank you, thank you. It's great being here.
Thank you, Dr. Newsome. So Dr. Newsome, I've known you for quite a few years now, and I consider you to be a mentor to me. So can you just share a little bit about yourself and how you started out on this educational journey?
All right, first I want to get in on those blessings. So
we love it. We love it. Thank you.
You can figure out how you're going to do this later in the show.
Absolutely.
So we'll have about 3 of these books that we're going to give to our listeners. So
all right.
I don't know how to do that, but
we got you covered.
No
Dr.
worries.
Newsome.
We got you covered. No worries. We'll figure it out. Thank you so much.
All right. So a little bit about my background. I'm a North Carolina boy via my father being in the military, so we travel quite a bit. But when I got to college, went to a small college, HBCU in North Carolina, Elizabeth City State University. While there, I decided to major in elementary education, and so that was my path. And so, as fate would have it, at some point, I dropped out of school, got drafted. While I was drafted, when I was in the service, my wife, who's on the line now, Sandra, she's here somewhere where you see Sandra's iPad. She said, why don't you change your major to early childhood education? And I'm thinking, it's too late to do that. I'm already in my senior year. But she said, well, what are you thinking, that men don't have a play into young children's lives? So it made a little sense. So when I got back, I changed my major to early childhood education. And the reason I mentioned that, that's an important vantage point that was, I think, the foundation of my career for over 45 years in education. That piece on early childhood education, seeing what happens at the early child, the path that they take in life, what kind of support systems they need around them. And so that led to a career that I'm just going to mention some of the things that I've done. In addition to being a early childhood teacher from grades K-3, I also had a stint as a 5th grade teacher. I became an administrator at a high school, assistant principal. From there, a principal at an elementary school. And I was the elementary principal for 5 years. After that, a high school principal for 6 years. Became a middle school principal for 5 years, and a chief educational administrator in one of the school districts. And at some point, I decided to sort of pursue a career in special ed, and I became special ed certified. Continuing that out, I became a director of school performance, working on data, seeing how data interplays with student achievement. Eventually an assistant superintendent for high schools, assistant superintendent for middle schools, superintendent in Danville, Virginia, a college adjunct professor at Morgan State, Trinity University, and at Bowie State. And so to my students, I call myself their professor for life because I believe that educators, as educators, we should be a resource. With that said, my career path started me on a journey to the book, Flight to Excellence, over, I guess, about 30 some years ago. And what was the notion for the book is that I was thinking that parents expect that educators would provide the best environments and help their children with opportunities for life. And to administrators, thinking from all the places that I had been, what can we do in the world of education as administrators to help push the envelope for children and their success, in addition to teachers? And with that, stakeholders in general, the community, lawmakers, and the like. And so it took a long time for me to put together this little book as I think about it, because I really wanted to give parents and other stakeholders some strategies for when they collaborate together, then we can make sure that children are successful in school, K through college, in addition to being equipped to navigate the world, not just this country, but the world. And so I think the book gives quite a few ideas and strategies for how stakeholders can come together to work together for that, with that goal.
Wow. A long career in education, and it still continues. So for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to Third Sunday Tea Talk Show, where we educate, advocate, and we celebrate. And our featured guest on today is Dr. Edward Newsome Jr. I consider him to be an educator extraordinaire, and he's worked at every level in the educational system. And now that we have experienced another crisis in our society, a lot of people are up in arms in reference to how can they still reach a level of education for their students. Parents are concerned, teachers are concerned, educators throughout every realm, all the way through, through higher ed, are concerned about the state of affairs and are children able to learn during this crisis? What is your take on the state of affairs in education today?
Well, I'll start with a cliche, and I look at cliches as, cliches are sayings or ideas or thoughts that people sort of gravitate around. And one of the cliches that people have been gravitating around for several years now is this thought about it takes a whole village to raise a child. Mm. So, when I first heard that, I thought, oh gosh, that's wonderful. It seems such a noble, and many of you know that's an African proverb. And I said, it's such a noble concept that it takes a whole village to raise a child. Now that's true. That's true. But what as I contemplated and thought about it over time, and I talk a little bit more detail in my book about it, is that we don't necessarily think about what kind of village that is raising our children. Number one, who is that village? Because some of our villages that raise children, that care for children, are not what we consider dynamic. They don't have the models, they don't have the mentorship, they don't have the people that are collaborate together for the best interest of children. So we have children that come from communities that they don't eat, they don't have health care. There's violence in those communities. So those communities, although they do raise children, they leave something wanting. So it is with that concept that we think about what is the village, and then the second thing, who is in the village. And when we talk about and think about education, sometimes many people think that the village nurturing towards education begins when the student gets in school. The actual village begins, and the nurturing and the building for students as they begin their success journey happens from the day they're born. Some people would say even before that, with mom singing to the, you know, to the baby before the baby is born, reading stories, just in a wholesome environment, free of stress. Those are all conditions where children learn, and that continues on. So with that said, we today, when we look at turmoil, the kinds of things in the earth, whether it relates to violence, as it relates to democratic norms, whether it relates to education, whether it relates to the pandemic, is all about where is the first setting that the child experiences an opportunity to receive the nurturing that builds the level of successes that they need. So the first point I want to make is it begins in the home. So no matter what children see on TVs or what they see as have to deal with the pandemic, it is at the home. Is the child having opportunities to receive love, care, emotional support, all the kinds of things that they need to navigate all the conditions that are external to that house? Because once that child is prepared in that house, they're better able to meet the demands of what happens externally. So that's the first piece. The second piece is what happens in the educational environment. I tend to think that in every generation there has been challenges. Now we're probably going through a challenge that we haven't seen before as it relates to healthcare, but there has been challenges in every several points in our history, and people have survived those things, and they survived them because people care and work together. In the educational environment, I think most of you pretty much know that the most important resource is in a classroom. It doesn't matter about books and materials, but the teacher is the most important resource. In an organization, the most significant piece is the leadership in that school. So I say that leaders, as the Bible says, leaders are born for the day of adversity. You don't need leaders when everything is going great. But because of the need for leadership to help organizations, teachers, stakeholders, parents, and everybody coalesce around the child, sometimes it seems that things are insurmountable. So in terms of leadership in our schools, leadership in our educational environment, it's an important time. So with that said, that opportunities come out of challenge. When there are great challenges, there are great opportunities. And as bad as things seem to be today, it is going to produce some challenges and speak to some overcoming of challenges through opportunities that we had been wanting to happen. And I'll just mention one, and then I'll piggyback on some more questions. This whole notion of distance learning, as an example, we've been thinking for years of how do we connect children with their present world, present life or communities, and with the world at large, and what would be the mechanism for that to happen. And we've sort of known that it's been through technology. And so 20 years ago, we were pushing for technology in education by calling it anywhere, anytime learning. Now with the pandemic, kids have technology. When that was first, we were talking about that anytime, anywhere learning 20 years ago, there was a huge divide into affordability. Kids in poverty could not afford technology. All sorts of things were happening that prevented them. And so equity was lacking 20 years ago for kids in poverty. Now,
excellent.
Now with the pandemic, as bad as circumstances are on the one hand, that we see that now the advent of the pandemic has pushed opportunity for kids to be able to access learning anywhere and connect with people anywhere. And so being that this is Sunday, my wife says this all the time. You probably heard this: when the devil starts messing, God starts blessing.
Yes, I have heard that.
So
one of the things you mentioned.
So I just want to finish that point. So
Okay.
even in this time of, and even with the thing, we know that children can be impacted by the virus and all. It seems like they're almost in a bubble, many of them, because of their age and because of their immune system, that though some of them have some tragic responses from the virus, we know that it seems like they're protected. So in a sense that some of this protection, I think, will give them the opportunity to excel as we move forward.
Excellent, excellent. So in the midst even of this pandemic, I truly believe that students will still have an opportunity to learn, because more teachers than not put all of their effort forward to make sure that learning happens every day. So whether it's in person or whether it is virtual, I really believe that teachers are doing the absolute best that they can to ensure that learning is still taking place. And Dr. Newsome is also an author. He is the author of Flight to Excellence. And one of the things you mentioned in your book that I read was one of your experiences. You said you did a survey in reference to students. And students made the statement that they didn't necessarily remember the content that was taught, but they remember the teacher that cared for them. So can you speak a little bit in reference to that?
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Pearson. That's an interesting point that you brought, that, that you made reference to that. I've had an opportunity to ask thousands and thousands and thousands of students, whether they be working on doctorate degrees or master's or bachelor's degrees, students in high schools, just thousands of people. And I asked the question, tell me who was your best or favorite teacher, or the best teacher that you've ever had in your life, and tell me why. So most people, when you give them 3 or 4 minutes to think about it, it doesn't take long. What I find out is that in those questions, it crosses racial and ethnic lines. Sometimes it's a person, it's an aunt or uncle or somebody in that house. Sometimes it's a professor, but 98% of the times when you ask them and when they respond to why that person was their favorite or best teacher, these are the kinds of things they say. They made me feel special. They cared about me. They loved me. I said, well, they tell you that. And a lot of times they say, no, they never told me. And I said, well, how did you know it? How did you know they cared for you? How did they know they cared about you? How do you know that your success was important to them? And it's because of the aura that teachers put forth and that surrounding that kids sort of navigate to that. Rarely do people say, I remember Mrs. Jones because she taught me how to do my timetables. Or I remember Mr. Johnson because he taught me how to conjugate a verb. It's always about that. And so I bring people back to this point. The word education comes from a Greek word that means to care for. The very substance of the word educate is all about caring.
Yeah.
Countries that outperform the United States around the world, when you look at their vision and mission statements, it is about the caring about students rather than the academia. So the academia comes forth after the caring, after students have the emotional kind of platforms and things that I talk about in my book. Those things are set up in the home and begin at home. And everybody can do it. You don't have to have a college education to be a good parent. You just got to love your child. And so that's what I mean. But so in teaching, no matter what level you're on, the understanding that students react to you better when you care for them and set the conditions for learning is the best place that one of the best things that you can do for children.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Of course, I totally agree with everything that you're saying. That spirit of caring is essential, because oftentimes when you talked about where it starts and in the home, a lot of students have challenging home lives. And when they come to school, if they have someone that is there who cares for them, they have a better chance of succeeding. And so that teacher-student relationship is absolutely crucial and necessary for students to learn. Also, in your book, to Flight to Excellence, so you're taking individuals through this journey as if, you know, they are actually on a flight.
That's
And
right.
we know that I'm not flying anywhere due to COVID at this time. However, but you know, when you're on a flight, sometimes there's turbulence. And that's also mentioned. And it seems like at this particular time, there's a little turbulence in the educational realm. I get a lot of news feeds in reference to all the different things that are going on with education, from lack of funding to society and lawmakers and others at this particular time feeling as though when you look at superintendents and others in leadership roles, that they should be miracle workers at this time. And of course, oftentimes they lose their jobs. And when you're fighting for anything, of course, there's a struggle, you know, when you're fighting for absolutely anything. But for education, it has always been a struggle to educate. There's always been a fight for learning, and it continues because of the inequities and all of that. And so on this flight to excellence, during turbulent times such as this, where some teachers feel as though they don't feel comfortable going back into the classroom and being where they are. And then you have leaders who are tasked with being under pressure to open schools because that's what lawmakers want. What encouraging words. How do educators handle themselves during this time of turbulence?
Dr. Pearson, you asked about 10 questions in that question.
Okay.
So let's just take a piece of that.
All right.
I'm going to tell you, so on the cover, you see an eagle. And the reason that I picked the eagle is because of the scripture saying that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They would take up wings as an eagle.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing about an eagle that's such an interesting, even though in the book I analogize it to vehicle transportation, but that eagle is still at the crux of some of the behavior of the eagle, especially in flight.
Mm-hmm.
And so the eagle is the animal that has probably the best eyesight of any animal. It can see such a distance away and focus on the prey or things on the ground. It's amazing. And then the tentacles can, once they catch their prey, they do not let it go. They have all sorts of kind of things that they do. So one of the major things about an eagle, and so you think about flight in general, vehicle flight, it really is modeled after a lot of birds and things like that. So what we know about flight is by observing certain animals and seeing how they navigate. So in an eagle, that when an eagle experiences turbulence in wind flow, what the eagle does is that it rises above the storm, locks the wings, puts the chest out, and begins to soar. The eagle lets the turmoil of the wind help keep it afloat and keep it above the fray. In a time of turmoil, what we have to do in educators is not so because there's always turbulence in the air. That you may not be flying in that particular path.
Mm-hmm.
And so as the eagle locks itself up, so in education, whether it be teachers, leaders, and all of us have got to know how to lock our wings and fly above it. In other words, whether it's by your faith, by your talent, by your skill, by your experiences, and all the things you know. So here's the thing that happens on the flight to excellence. On the flight to excellence, in other words, about a child's path to success, the pilot is not one person. It is that community.
Yes.
So now instead of one person sitting in the seat, it's everybody that has your well-being at heart. So in this time of turbulence, we all protect our children, we protect our teachers, we protect our leaders. We all come together to begin to offer support. Does a parent say, you know, the kid is on distance learning, but does a parent send a note and say, hey, we're supporting you there? Do other leaders say those kind of things? Do your colleagues say those kind of things? We're with you. We're working through this together. So that external support that we give students gives them a sense of calm during this flight. You know, you can't help a kid if you don't help yourself first. You know, you're going through turbulence. They said, tell the person, the parents and everybody said, look, you take your oxygen mask first. So we have to be in the right frame of mind for our students, whether that be in elementary, middle, high school, and even at the college level. You got to check in on those students, ask them how they're doing, and let them know that you care about them and that you're going to be with them through this time of turbulence.
Exceptional, exceptional. Absolutely. We're not in it by ourselves. So those of you who are just joining us, this is Third Sunday Tea Talk Show, where we educate, celebrate, and advocate. And we have Dr. Edward Newsome educating us on today, not only educating us, encouraging us on today. And of course, this is where we do Third Sunday Blessings. So if you have not had an opportunity to put in the chat that you are an educator, classify yourself, whether you are a professor, a teacher, a paraeducator, to our host, Carolyn, because we will be giving Third Sunday Blessings in just a little bit, and we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to get one of those blessings on today. So we're going to open up for an opportunity for you all to ask Dr. Newsome questions in reference to education, in reference to Flight to Excellence. And I know only thing you have to do is just unmute yourself and ask him a question. So this is your time to talk to Dr. Newsome. And I know that there is someone on the here with us who I know also has a copy of his book and has been in the chat. So Carlisa, would you like to start us off? Carlisa?
Okay, so I had to find myself. There I am.
Okay.
Hello, Dr. Pearson and Dr. Newsome. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we hear you.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say I missed both of you during COVID. Working with you both and on behalf of children has been an extreme honor for me over my career, and I'm just glad that we still are able to connect. Dr. Newsome, you are just, I miss your lessons. I miss your daily lessons. And one of the things that, first of all, you already know that my book is dog-eared and underlined all throughout the book, because we have very similar beliefs about how our children need to be educated. And one of the things that you've always talked about is basically doing a new thing, that you even mentioned in your book that we can't use the same old tools that we used to use to educate our kids for the future. And so one of the questions that I had for you today is, I'm sure that you didn't have any prophecy that COVID would be the catalyst for those new tools, but just in your experience, how do you see COVID accelerating the vision that you have always talked about using different tools to solve the problems of the future and not the old tools of the past?
All right. Thank you, Carlisa. Carlisa, I would have been very upset that you were up here and didn't ask a question.
That's right.
So it's good to see you. So one of the things I want to speak to with that said, you know, because early on in the book, I have the headers, and one of the headers is about thinking out of the box. And so I propose the idea that the best way to get people to stop thinking inside the box is to destroy all of the boxes. Don't let them get back in the box. So as long as there's a box, they will get back in it. So my theoretical base that I start thinking about generations, and you've probably heard some of this before, is the nature that, and I've been talking about this for the last 20 years, is about women in leadership.
It's just that.
Because women start with, for children, there could be a father in the home, and that's great. But women, children seem to begin to see women, the nurturing, the things, their leadership at the very first part of their life. And so I have proposed that in this time that we live in, we should elevate and start thinking about the contributions that women as a collective unit. If you look at world history, if you watch women in leadership in the world, you will see a prominent role of women in leadership. And so you've heard me say this, I've been speaking towards women at the national, state, local positions of authority. So when I say leadership, I'm talking about authority, and that is in the decision making. So in this time of pandemic, I would think that you have to coalesce women and people in the home, generations of women, to get to the core of what kind of things will support children, what makes children feel good about themselves, what makes children feel affirmed. And so the first strategy would be your collection of stakeholders who make decisions about children. We got to make sure that we get a cross section from every community, whether it's high poverty, middle, upper class, wherever they are, bring them to the table for discussions about curriculum, about technology, about access, about diversity. And so I think the paradigm shift will be into who sits at that table. And so in the book, I talk about that. We're going to have to change the dynamics of who's at the table, giving input about children and what they need.
Lynn.
Great.
All right, is there anyone else who has a question at this particular time? We are open for questions with Dr. Newsome. So the only thing you have to do is just unmute your phone and you can ask your question. Okay, no one has a question at this time. Well, I'm full of plenty questions. So on this flight to excellence and in this wonderful book, Guaranteeing Success for All Students in the 21st Century, you mentioned that it takes the entire community to support students in that academic journey. How important, and I know it's very, very important for everyone to be at the table, but can you share how the community at large can support students, the community at large? We talk about the community and we're all a part of the community, but those who are on the outside of the schoolhouse, those who are on the outside of the schoolhouse.
Okay, Dr. Pearson, I spent quite a bit of time talking about what that community looks like and about everybody's responsibility in the community, whether it be the people at the local stores, the physicians, the business arena, your next door neighbor. So I'm going to give you, and many of you, some of you may have come from a small town, and I happen to, my father was in the military, as I mentioned, but I came from a small town in North Carolina. Some of people, if you were raised in big cities, it's like the folks on your block, the people that lived on your block. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, if you did something you weren't supposed to do or were in a place that you weren't supposed to be, your parents knew before they got home. When they walked in the house, they say, "Did you do this? I heard." People were always looking out the window, paying attention to you. In other words, saying that I have a vested interest in you, not only in your family, because everybody in your neighborhood was actually an extension of your family. An extension of your family was not just your aunts and uncles. It was the person at the corner store. It's like when you went to the doctor, they seemed to know you. The teachers lived in your community. So the first thing is that for this thing to be, children to be successful, it starts with the community's involvement, and everybody sees themselves as a responsible person for your success. Everybody's got to see that every child that's in my community, I need to be able to contribute to their life. The first thing that people I say is that we have to sort of retool this concept about motivation. And I think that motivation is an overused word. I think you've heard me say that. I think Carlisa has heard me say this. The whole deal is that we should be thinking about who inspires us. You're inspired by family members or somebody that has a truth for you that you see as significant. Once that inspiration takes place, it sows the seed of motivation in you, and you will be motivated. Motivation comes from an internal place and demonstrates itself externally. So everybody in your community has got to provide some inspirational platform for students. It's important for you to do this. I want you to, your success is important to me. I will look out for you. I will make sure that you are in a safe place. I will make sure that if you don't have something, the community makes sure that it's available for you. And so from that center of each community member or stakeholder in a child's life has got to make the child see that themselves is going to be successful. And the children need to know that they can depend on the people that are around them and in their community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Looking at children from their strengths, children knowing that they have a community that supports them. And when that happens, we see academic excellence. And I know you can speak on that as well, because you've been principals of schools that were that got significant ratings. How do you do that, and how do you maintain that? You know, as far as, because we know that there are a lot of schools that get bad ratings, and we know that there are some factors that play a role in it. But how are you able to get raven reviews for your schools and maintain that status?
Well, I think that I saw in the chat box a few minutes ago where someone put a powerful word in there. It seems like you give children hope. Mm-hmm. That's such a powerful word, because it precedes faith and precedes love and precedes a whole lot of things, right? Uh-huh. So let's just speak very briefly about this, because it can be a long story. But first of all, the children have to be knowing that you believe in them, and that I know there's a book that's been written, and it's called Failure is Not an Option by Blankenstein, who says that failure is not an option. And my pretext is that failure should be an option. Children need to know how to overcome failure, lack of success. And so you build confidence in children who have failed, but understand that they can overcome that. So in overcoming that, you know, you can set expectations, and children don't get overwhelmed if they're not successful at the first try. So parents can do that in the home, teachers can do that in the school. So children need to know how they can overcome obstacles like failures and those kind of things to contribute to the success. That happens because you believe and trust in them. I can tell you that every person on this conference call right now has heard someone say something like, when you say to them, I can't, they'll tell you, I don't want to hear that, or what's not possible. You don't want to hear that, because you tell them what is possible. And so because they trust in you, or you inspire them, or you have a significant place in their life, they will believe you and overcome the charge. And so I remember as a high school principal, we were at a high poverty school, about 80% of the kids, 70 to 80% of the kids, free reduced lunch, the lowest SAT scores in the school district. And so I got all the kids together that would take, and I met them by class. And I told them what people said about them. I had a newspaper in my hand. It wasn't Joe Clark, but I had that newspaper, and I said, you know what? Everybody is talking about how you have the highest dropout rate in the school district. Everybody's talking about how you have the highest rate of teen pregnancy, the lowest graduation rate, the lowest SAT scores. And they were beginning to be very upset about that. And I says, you know, is it true? And they said, no, it's not true. And I says, look, from my generation, we said talk is cheap. You've got to make the difference and believe in yourself before somebody else will believe in you. Well, I think people may know this. At the end of that year, we had the highest jump in SAT scores in the state, a 70-point jump. I mean, we did some things for the students, but they had to first believe. Secondly, teachers need to be able, 50% of teachers leave within the first 3 years. Why is that? To go to college and hope to be a teacher one day. So we know why teachers, I think Dr. Wilson is on the line. We know why teachers also say they leave the profession. It's not just about the money. It's about feeling that they are supported. Professional development. We have to sort of retool this whole idea about accountability to mean responsibility. And so the support for your teachers, the training and all those kind of things that you do. And then the same thing for the leaders. So I mentioned all of those together because it's not just one thing. It is that the community that is responsible for providing services for students, the students believing and trusting that they will be cared for, then I think you then have a part of the formula for their success.
Wow. Those were that was like a little mini TED Talk right there. So we are so grateful to have you, Dr. Newsome. We're so grateful for you joining us for Third Sunday Tea Talk Show. And of course, we are celebrating educators on today. And his book, Flight to Excellence, is absolutely phenomenal. When you start reading it, you do not want to put it down. So Dr. Newsome is giving away, how many books, Dr. Newsome?
I'm gonna give 3, and if you twist my arm, it'll be 5.
All right, he's gonna give 3 books away, and if you're not an educator, and don't get a book today, and if you're an educator and you don't get a book today, just make sure that you reach out so you can get a copy of his book. So we ask everyone who were educators to please put in the chat that you are, whether you teach middle school or elementary school, or whether you're a paraeducator, whether you are a professor or what have you. So we have some information here. So we are going to first start with, I know she is a new teacher, and she is teaching at John Hanson Elementary School, and we're going to give her one of the first books. Camille Warren will have a book for Flight to Excellence. So thank you for joining us, right. Camille. Our next book is going to go to an educator who does double duty. She is a specialist in Howard County Public Schools, but she is also in higher ed, and that is Dr. Latasha Harrison. Dr. Latasha Harrison, she is going to get a book, that Flight to Excellence. She's going to get a book on today.
Dr. Newsome and I worked on our doctorate together.
That's right.
Oh, you get out of here. Whoa. Yes. And we're going to also give another book to an educator down in Florida. We have individuals who are with us from all across the country, and that's going to be Natasha Douglas. She's going to have a book, The Flight to Excellence, from Dr. Edward Newsome. And those 3 young ladies, I have their information, so they don't need to text anything, but you know, we're all about blessings on this show. So Dr. Newsome, thank you again for joining us. Thank you for mentoring so many of us educators and inspiring us and being there for us. You are just truly God sent. And those of you who did not get a book, they are available. I will put how you can get in contact to get the book, and I'll put that in the chat. So make sure you support Dr. Newsome. He is an educator extraordinaire. And I'm going to turn it over to my.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's something I saw in a chat box.
Okay.
And I'm seeing some of my other colleagues and mentees that are speaking in the chat box that I haven't seen in a while. But it's to the grandmother. The book, even though educators can get a piece, and like I said, I wanted to make sure that you can put it in your pocket or your purse or something. But it is the non-educators some of the people who like the book the best are when I go and do signing book signings in beauty parlors. Parents that may not be educators and all, because they need to know what they can do. And look, at home, children are in a natural habitat for learning. That's the most natural habitat. Schools are not necessarily a natural habitat for learning. And so what happens when they get there is predicated on what happens before they get there. So I just want to encourage people who think that, oh, because I'm not an educator, do I count? Or can I make a difference? Or is this book something that I can gain some ideas and strategies for how I can build my children up to set the stage and give them a platform for success? So I just want to mention that to people who think that, oh, well, you know, it's the teachers that has the expertise. Nobody's got the expertise on love like a mom.
Amen.
Or dad,
Thank you so much, Dr. Newsome. Now we're going to turn the show over to Carolyn, Evangelist Carolyn. All right.
What an amazing show this has been thus far. Thank you, Dr. Newsome, for your incredible information. And again, Dr. Pearson is going to put his contact information in if you're interested in getting the book. I'm really, really, really excited to introduce our next guest. As you all know, Third Sunday Talk Show is all about educating and advocating for those, our friends and future business owners, small business owners. And one of my we connected, went to high school together. We're not gonna tell our ages, but it's been a minute since we went to high school. In any case, I connected back with her in her career, but her story, she's gonna give a brief little synopsis of her story, but she is our feature business entrepreneur for today. So I just want you all to give a good ear and listen to Tracy Holly. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show of Tracy's She Shed, and she's gonna give you a little bit of background about that. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. And Dr. Newsome, when you followed up, I know that Dr. Pearson was talking about educators, but for me personally, I'm not a formal educator, but I consider myself an educator because I educate children every day. And with that said, I have a 30-year career with Marriott, and when the pandemic started, I went on furlough, and that was in March. And during that time, as a person who doesn't know how to sit still, I was really troubled. I was troubled watching the news. I was troubled not being able to go to church. I was troubled just in the stillness. And so first I changed my mind. And my mind said, you face this every day. This is a day-to-day situation. We have to get out of the thought of planning future, because it is a lot easier on us as individuals if we go day to day. So I started meeting each day as it was. And I started painting. And the painting led to painting furniture and redesigning furniture. So this mirror behind me is actually a 7-foot mirror that I redesigned during furlough. Little did I know, I started painting furniture, and I do dressers and headboards and all types of furniture, and I'll show you some in a second. Little did I know that my furlough would become elimination of a 30-year career. And at that point, I was selling my furniture in the farmer's market, which that was on July 15th. By August 1st, I ended up opening a store during the pandemic, and it was all God. It is all, it was always been a dream of mine to own my own boutique. And so many people had told me, oh, stores are going away and you can't do this and you can't do that. And, you know, I never would have lived.
Oh no.
Connection.
Hopefully she will Oh my gosh. Hopefully she will be able to dial right back in. But as she was saying, she was working with the Marriott for 30 years. The pandemic hit, Marriott hotels, you know, everything shut down. So she was furloughed. And then she found out that her job was actually being totally eliminated. But during that time, her creative juices came in and she started to paint furniture and she started to do all of these things. And she started out in a flea market. And I don't know the whole background about how all of that happened, but now she has this adorable, adorable little store in the Rotunda in Baltimore. And it's really, and I saw her on, we connected again on Facebook. I see her trying to come back in. And I talked to Dr. Pearson about it, and I said, I want to feature her on the show. And so I went to her store, not about 3 weeks ago, and we connected again. And of course, she's on the show. And actually, she's going to give away, oh, I'm hoping her connection will come back in. And but there she is. She's coming back in. I wanted her to show a little bit. I mean, she has some adorable. I told her.
Was it just me, Carolyn, that fell off?
Yes, it was just you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, everyone. How about that in the middle of a talk? I'm going to speed up a little bit, but I will tell you that this is a blessing from God, and my store is Tracy Shested. I'm located in the Rotunda Mall in Baltimore. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see a little bit of the store, of the boutique. I do redesign furniture. I also do jewelry, handbags, everything you need.
Yeah. She's getting a bad connection because I was trying to tell her that she's frozen. But and we're about to run out of time. Oh, okay, yeah, because you're freezing up, Tracy. So what we're gonna do, Tracy is giving, okay, so we're able to see some of the things that she has. So what we're going to do, Third Sunday Blessing, she's going to be giving away 2 $25 gift cards, 2 of them, 2 $25 gift cards. So I'm gonna think of 2 numbers between 1 and 50. Now, what I need you to do, because listen, don't send the number to me. Send it to Akita. So 1, 2, 3. Send, everybody can just send a number, 1 number between 1 and 50. And I'm thinking of 2 numbers, and I'm going to ask Akita what the numbers are.
All right. All right.
And I just tell Akita what my numbers are.
Okay. Thank you so very much for all of you for participating in our blessings. We are so excited about what God is doing in this season, and we don't want to be left out of anything that he's doing.
Yeah. Has everybody sent a number? Just 1 number. Everybody send 1 number.
Oh yeah, I got numbers. I'm ready to go.
Okay, and I sent her the numbers that I chose. So who are our winners? We have 2 winners. Who are our winners?
Okay. All right. We have, Suzanne Haley.
Suzanne Haley.
Suzanne Haley. And as Pastor Suzanne Haley, she is a sweetheart, and she too is an educator. And she, Pastor Suzanne, I'm gonna have to get you on my show to talk, because she does a lot in the way of equity and microaggressions and all of that good stuff.
Thank you.
So Pastor Suzanne Haley is one of our winners, and our next winner is, oh, I lost my place on my chat, sorry. And Renee Rivers.
Wow. Oh, congratulations, Renee. Oh, that's awesome. So Tracy, if you can, number one, please put your website information in the chat so that everybody has your website information. And then Suzanne and Renee, we need you all to send all of your contact information to Tracy Holly, because she's going to be sending you your gift cards. Congratulations, everyone. And when I tell you the store is absolutely adorable, go on the website. She has some amazing, really, really, really cute things in the store. So please go send Tracy your information. And Tracy, please be sure to put your the website information on in the chat. Oh my gosh. Okay, so guys, we're gonna ask you, I'm gonna ask you, we don't normally do this, but the information was good. We're gonna go over like by 3, maybe 4 minutes, really, 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 really quick. Amen. Is that all right with everybody? Will y'all give us a little bit of grace on today? We just need a little bit of grace, a little bit of grace. So, and I'm gonna make my my defining moment really, really fast, but it totally ties in to Tracy's story and even parts of what Dr. Newsome was saying. So last week, and the Lord really blessed me to hear an abundance of messages, but there was an overlying theme in each one of those messages. And so on Monday, I sent out my post, and my post was, "It's time to dream again." And we all are going through something. We've all been through the throes these last few months with the pandemic and the shutdown, and everybody has been dealing with something. But as we all know, trouble cannot last always. This trouble does have an end date. And so while we've been at home and we've had a little more time, and yes, some of us have been in panic mode because we weren't sure exactly what we were going to do and what was going to happen, but it also should have been some time for you to take some reflection and for you to look and see exactly what you needed to do. And we have to remember that when we are dreaming, that's our future. Memories are our past, but dreams are our future. And as long as we continue to dream, we'll continue to move forward to get to that expected end, that place that God talks about, that He knows the thoughts that He has for us to bring us out to what kind of end? An expected end. It's a good end. It's not a bad end. It is a good end. And for this, as I shared earlier, 2020 was the year for us all to get 2020 vision. We had to get some clarity. Some of us had, including myself, we had some blurry vision. Look at Tracy. She thought she was going to do one thing, and God totally flipped the script on her, pulled it out, and pulled out a creative energy in her that she didn't even realize she had. And guess what? Each and every one of us has that inside of us. When we were born, God birthed giftings in us. And now it is time to dream again. And if you started something, Dr. Newsome has written a book. Akita has written a book. Others on here have written, hey, maybe it's time for you to share and write a book, because how are we blessed? We are saved by the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. It's time to share your testimony and share it through a dream, share it through a vision. And if you're not sure, ask God, and He will give you direction. So during this time when we're still not quite out yet, dream again. Dream again. Your future and the future of your children and grandchildren, they are relying on those dreams, because remember, our dreams are our future and they keep us moving forward. So it is time to dream again. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that defining moment. It is time to dream again. We have 2 announcements that we'd like to share, and we're going to put the flyers up. One is an upcoming Access, Equity, and Empowerment Conference. And I'm a part of that conference. Carlisa Finney, who asked the question earlier, that was one of her visions and dreams. And we continue to advocate for our children and for our parents in the midst of everything that's going on. So she's going to show that flyer. And next month, please spread the word. We are celebrating our 3rd anniversary of Third Sunday Tea Talk Show on social media. And we will have Bishop James Nelson Sr. If any of you all know Bishop Nelson, he is absolutely phenomenal. Those of you who love the gospel music of Jason and Jonathan Nelson, that is their father. And he's going to be with us and bring a special word for everyone. So make sure that you put on your calendars to join us next month. And we are doing this Access and Equity Conference the end of this month. So this is our flyer for Third Sunday, and then we have our next flyer for the Access, Equity, and Empowerment Conference. And you can see that virtually. And Apostle Craig Coates, he too is one of the organizers who helped birth this initiative. And he's going to be screaming live from his church. And I think the capacity of individuals that can join live is about 150 people. And you need to register for that. Can we get that? You got that flyer, Carolyn? Let's see, I think she's working on trying to get that one up. There we go. So please, if you have an opportunity to join us, we will have welcome greetings by the former U.S. Secretary of State, Dr. John King. So we are really excited about that. We will also have another dynamic individual, Dr. Rubens, who works with Ed Trust. And of course, Dr. John King is the CEO of Ed Trust. So if you all will join us on Saturday or spread the word, it's going to be a phenomenal conference for access, equity, and empowerment. So thank you so very much for joining Third Sunday Tea Talk Show.
Amen. Thank you all so much. Again, please be sure the winners, be sure that you post your information in the chat boxes so that we can get your information and get those gift cards to you. And please, we look forward to you all on next month, Third Sunday. God bless everyone, and thank you all for your support. God bless.
Take care.
Thank you.